Hey there, Saki here from sakitech, and in today's video I would like to share over 25 plus tips, tricks, and features for the iPhone 7. iPhone 7 is a fantastic smartphone, and when you spend a load of money for a phone like this, it is essential to master as many tips and tricks as you can so as to enhance your use of this product. So let's dive right in and start learning. Let's start with tip number 1. Now, as you may or may not know, the new home button on the iPhone 7 is a touch-sensitive solid-state button. You cannot physically press it in. It is rock solid. But of course, what Apple did was they built a taptic engine underneath the home button, which gives you a tactile feedback to confirm that you did press the button. So basically, you get a little vibrational feedback when you press on the home button. Now, the first thing you want to do is to customize the intensity of this tactile vibrational feedback. So what you want to do is you want to go into the settings, then you want to tap onto general, and then go to home button. And from here, you basically have 3 options. The way you choose the one you like is you press 1, and then you press on the home button and you get a feedback. If you don't like the intensity, try number 2. Press the home button, you get another higher, more intense feedback. And if you want the maximum amount of feedback, you press number 3, and then you tap on the home button, and that's the one you choose if that's the one you like. Fantastic. When you're done, click done and move on. Now there's a couple more things you can do with the home button. So instead of pressing the home button this time though, we're going to press accessibility. Tap on it, scroll down until you see the home button option. If you tap on this home button, you have some other options. So basically you can actually double tap or triple tap the home button to activate certain functions. For example, when you double tap the home button like this, it brings up the multitasking pane. With this option over here, what you can do is you can adjust the speed required to double or triple click the home button. And finally, let's talk about the option at the bottom here. It says rest finger to open. Now by default, this is disabled. So when you buy the phone and you start using your phone for the first time, this is going to be disabled. Let me show you what it does when it is in fact disabled, and then we can contrast it with when it is enabled. So let's turn off the phone, and let's turn on the phone, and then you have to press on the home screen to actually unlock the phone. After you unlock the phone, you have to actually press the home button to open the phone. Now when you enable this setting, rest finger to open, you don't have to do that 2-step process. What you can do now is, let's turn off the phone, turn it on, and simply rest our finger on the home screen without even pressing, and that simply unlocks the phone and goes straight in. Fantastic. Let's move on. Alright, so the next tip has to do with enabling a built-in magnifier that you can use to magnify on objects. So let's go into the settings, and let's go to general, and let's go to accessibility, and over here you will see magnifier. Make sure the top portion of this is enabled, and when you do enable it, what you can do is you can triple tap the home button, and that brings up the camera with a magnifying slider. And you can slide this back and forth to magnify in and out of objects. Now if you usually bring the camera up, it's not going to bring up any magnifier. So this is the regular camera. As you can see, there's no magnifier. But if you triple tap that button, it brings up that camera with a magnifying slider. And make sure you guys, if you want to use it, go into the settings, accessibility, and enable magnifier. Alright, so the next tip has to do with your lock screen. So basically what we normally do is we put a fingerprint or a PIN number to secure our phones, so only we can log into our phone. But the problem is, even if we do that, people can access some information without our knowledge. And we have to safeguard against that. Let me show you what I mean. So you can basically pull down from the top, and that brings up your notification panel. And if you swipe over, that brings up your widgets. In your widgets, you have things like your calendar and your upcoming appointments that could be private information, not to mention all the text messages, emails, and perhaps Facebook and Twitter notifications that will populate right over here. So right now my phone is unlocked, so it seems natural that I can access this. But I also have a fingerprint on my phone, and if I do actually shut my phone off, and if I try to open it again, the phone is right now, as you can see on the top, locked. But I can still access the notifications. I can even see the content of that notification. And if I swipe over, I can see all the widgets right over here, including my calendar, which like I said, could be private information. The problem is I can access all these things even though my phone is supposed to be locked. So let me unlock the phone with my fingerprint and show you how to restrict access to anything on the lock screen. What you want to do is you want to go to the settings and then scroll down to where it says Touch ID and Passcode. Tap on this guy, put your passcode, which I just did, and scroll down over here, and then it says Allow Access when locked. And then immediately unallow access to Today's View, Notifications View, Siri, and Reply with Message. So if I disable all these guys, you're going to see something amazing. If I go back out and I shut my phone off, if I turn it back on, now I cannot access the Today's screen, I cannot access notifications, and I cannot access the widgets panel. And that's how you want it to be unless you are in a really trustworthy environment. Now the other thing people can access on the lock screen is the control center. Now that's not a big deal, but this thing right over here is in fact accessible from the lock screen, and you can disable that if you want. So right now, if I do this, it's going to come right up. If I want to disable access to just about everything, you go back into the settings, you go to Control Center, and from here, what you want to do is you want to make sure access on lock screen is disabled. So if I go back into the lock screen this time, I cannot access the Control Center. My lock screen is on a total lockdown. Let me go back in with my fingerprint. And the next thing I recommend you do while we are here is also disable this. Because if you're playing a game on your iPhone 7, and if you accidentally swipe from bottom to top, it's going to interrupt your gameplay and it's going to bring up the control center. So if you want a smooth gameplay with no interruptions, then make sure you also disable this. So the control center access within apps is in fact disabled. Now, as you know, with iOS 10, you get access to widgets. So you can pull down the notifications panel and then you can swipe right over and here are your widgets. Now, there's another way to access the widgets. And obviously it's very simple. You simply swipe to the left and they come right up. Now, as you know, you can actually scroll all the way down and you can edit your widgets one by one. So if you don't want the stocks widget, you can just take it out, remove it. And let's say you want the calendar widget, you can simply click plus and that puts it into your active widgets. And of course, you can move this up and down as you please and click done. Now, there's another way to add widgets to your widgets screen very quickly. And just so you know, Apple calls this Today's Screen. So let's go back over here and let me show you how to quickly add a widget to your Today's Screen by using 3D Touch. So for example, if I do a 3D Touch on the weather widget, if it has the option to add a widget, it's going to show up on the top right over here. And if I tap it, it goes straight into my home screen. I meant to say my Today's Screen. So if I scroll over this time, you'll see that the weather widget was added to the bottom of my widgets list, all right? And again, I can remove this thing right here, click done, go back out, 3D touch on the weather thing, click add widget, and again, it goes right over here at the bottom. And this works with any app that allows for widgets. All right, so the next tip actually allows you to enable a secret floating menu on your iPhone. So let's go into the settings. And let's go back into the main settings, tap on General, tap on Accessibility, and look for Assistive Touch. So let's scroll down, and here it is. Tap on this guy, enable Assistive Touch, and here is a floating menu. If you tap this guy, you can use this as a home button, all right? You can tap it again. You can use it to bring your notification center down, which is fantastic. You can tap it again, and you can click the Control Center, which brings up the control center. And as you can see, I can do this purely by touching on the screen. I don't have to swipe up or down. Additionally, if I tap this button again, right here, I can click device, and from here I can do things like lock the rotate screen, mute the phone, volume up or down, and even lock the screen. If I tap this, it locks the screen. So this is a great little secret menu. And let's go back in the settings, and I just want to let you know that with the Assistive Touch, you can customize the top level menu as you please. So this is something, if you want to play, you can play with it. it is a nice option to have. Alright, so the next tip has to do with your fingerprints. So let's go into the settings and let's scroll down to Touch ID and passcode. Go right in and of course put your passcode in. And once you're in, as you can see over here, it says I have one fingerprint registered. Now I happen to know that I use my left thumb to use this. But if I had 4 or 5 fingers registered, I would be unable to keep track of which finger is which. So what is finger 1? What is finger 2, right? So what you want to do is when you register your finger, you have to rename it properly. So if I tap on finger 1, I can go over here and I can do LT, and that means that's my left thumb. So make sure every single time you add a fingerprint, you name it properly. And while we are here, scroll down and where it says require passcode, make sure you choose immediately, alrighty? Because if you don't choose immediately, and if you turn off your phone, and if you turn it on, sometimes the phone remains unlocked for 10, 20, 30 seconds. But when you pick immediately, it immediately requires you to put your fingerprint or put your passcode in. So make sure require passcode is set to immediately. Alright, so the one option your iPhone 7 comes with is raise to wake feature. So basically if your phone is sitting on the table flat, you can simply raise it and that's going to wake up the phone. Now if you don't like this option, you can actually turn it off. So let's go back into the phone. Let's go into the settings. Let's go to display and brightness and look for raise to wake. And as I said, if you don't like that option, you can simply disable that. So when you now raise your phone, it's not going to wake. So I love to secure my device. So the first thing I do when I buy an iPhone is I go to the settings and I go to general and I go into restrictions, which is right over here. Now the first time you go into restrictions, you have to enable it. Click enable, it's going to ask you to set a passcode, and this is an independent passcode. This has nothing to do with the passcode you use to unlock your phone. This is a separate passcode just for restrictions. So just let's pick 000. It's going to ask you to put it in twice, and once you do that, so from here what I can do is I can disable these apps and restrict access to them. So I can restrict Safari and the camera, and if I go back out, Safari and the camera are disappeared from the home screen. Nobody can access them unless they go back in and unrestrict access. So let's go to settings, go back to restrictions, and it's going to ask you for that passcode you just picked, and then you can re-enable camera and re-enable Safari, and you have all these options, and you can also disable iTunes Store and all this stuff. Now one of my favorite things to do is disable people from installing apps, deleting apps, and performing in-app purchases. Sometimes you give your phone to a friend or maybe to your kid, and the next thing you know, they're installing applications and they're making purchases, and sometimes they're even deleting applications. So for example, if I enable this restriction, people cannot delete apps from my phone anymore. And again, anytime you enable a restriction, you have to come back and disable it so you can make a move on your own. Alright, so the next thing has to do with the clock application. So basically you can go to the clock app and set up a bedtime feature. So let's launch the app and simply tap on bedtime, and this will basically set up a regular time for going to bed and waking up. You will get notified when it's time to go to bed and also wake up to an alarm. So you simply click get started if you're here for the first time, and it's going to ask you what time would you like to wake up. Let's just say 7 a.m. So it says which days of the week should the alarm go off. Let's just say I work every single day, and click next. And then it's going to ask you how many hours of sleep do you need each night. I can say 8 hours, click next. And the next question is when would you like to be reminded that it's bedtime? And you can say 15 minutes before it's actual bedtime or an hour before. Let's just tap on an hour before, click next, and then pick up a alarm. Click next one more time, and then click save, and you are good to go. So every night at 11 a.m., an hour before 11, it's going to remind you that bedtime is approaching. And then you go to bed and you wake up at 7 a.m. And this is supposed to make you a more healthy person. Okay, just shut that off for now, and let's get out of here. And of course, there's some new features with the messaging application. So if I go into messages, and that's me right there. As you can see, when you're talking to somebody that has iMessage and iOS 10 on the other end, on the receiving end, what you'll see is you'll see this arrow. If you tap this arrow, you can access your camera directly, and from here you can take a picture. And then you can take that picture and you can immediately send that picture to your friend by clicking done over here. And as you can see, it's right there. If you tap on it, you can actually mark it up, but you don't have to. If you want to mark it up, you can tap this. If you want to edit the picture, you can tap this. If you're done with the picture, click done, and then simply send it right over, and that picture goes right to your friend. So you don't have to actually leave the application, the messaging application, to take a picture. You can do it right over here. And of course, there's more things you can do, but this is my most favorite feature, that you can access the camera right through here. And if you don't want to actually use the camera, you can access your photo library. So if you have thousands of photos and you want to share it with your friend, you can tap photo library, go right into it, and just tap the one that you want, click choose, and then send that over to your friend. Fantastic. Now while we are here, let me show you the other things you can do. So if you tap this arrow, the first one is the camera. The next one is special gestures. So basically things like, if I press and hold on the screen with one finger, it's going to send this nice little circular thing. So let's get rid of that. And if I double tap with my hands, with both my fingers, it's going to produce a beating heart. So you can also do these things, and you can also expand this window. This might be a tiny area for you guys to work on. So if you tap this arrow, it turns it into full screen. All right, and if you tap that arrow again, it becomes half screen. And you can do the same thing with the camera. If you tap on camera, it brings up the full camera, alrighty? But if you don't tap on this camera icon, you can actually take a picture right over here. So I can tap this, boom, there's the picture, another picture. And you can send numerous pictures at the same time. If you don't want a picture, you can click X and that's gone. And then if you tap on the picture, like I said, you can mark it up, you can edit it, or you can cancel it, and you can delete it, or you can send it. That's a lot of options for a messaging application. And of course, another one of my favorites is if you tap here and say hi, you can do a 3D press over here, and that takes you to send with effect screen. You can slam the message, you can send it loudly, you can send it gently, or you can do an invisible ink so the other person can't see what you sent unless they touch and reveal the message. So if I send this over, they're going to see that. So let me go over here. I have to tap this thing and that message reveals itself. So let's respond really quick. Let's say, hey, I'm going to show you the next thing you can do. 3D touch on this guy. And instead of sending with effect, scroll over to the screen and send it with some balloons, or you can send it with confetti, or you can send it with these nice lasers. And of course you have all these different nice options, firecrackers and a shooting star. And if I send this over to the other person, if I click this, this is what I will see. Fantastic. Well, thank you for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to sakitech and give this video a thumbs up. Also follow me on Twitter and Facebook at sakitech online, for which links are in the description below. Have a fantastic day.